When I returned to the dorm where I shared a room with my friend, Simon, it was late in the evening. I was walking to my room when I noticed a dripping woman dressed in my university uniform standing in front of the door. I came to check who she was and discovered it was my roommate, who seemed to have had a battle with the rainstorm before returning. I wondered why my friend was so wet, yet she just stayed and didn't go inside. Or perhaps she was losing a key and waiting for me. But it couldn't make me feel clear from those concerns at all by her silence. After I unlocked the door and we both came inside, if I didn't count the time that she went inside the room, she looked like a recently moved statue more than walking in by her feet. I tried to find out why she had a damp body and had been acting strangely since we arrived, but there was nothing that came out of her mouth. I was becoming increasingly anxious and suspicious of her, but I chose to tell her that she needed to take a bath before she caught a cold. Then, I laid down, played my games, and stopped worrying about it. When I awoke and went to take a bath, I noticed that my friend's bed was completely soaked, with water all over the floor around her bed area. That's odd. Where did it come from? I thought while checking the ceiling for a leak. But my curiosity is too much to avoid anymore, although the deepest part of me tried to warn me to not involve all of these things that have happened since yesterday. I gathered all of my last courage, went to Simon preparing herself before went to the university, and asked her directly. It was not as soon as before I spoke up. The image of her that I had seen the day before became clearer, and I could see more details. She seemed to be stockier than before. It wasn't like someone who had just gotten out of the bath. It seemed like someone had just come out of the pool, and it was edema-like, as her body had absorbed a huge amount of water. But the skin was also as fluid as a bleached boiled chicken, and could see every vein beneath that thin epidermis. I confess that I was both shocked and scared at the time, even though my body was frozen. I reached and caught her wrist with a shaking hand, then brought her to sit in front of the television with me for the most quick question that I had kept for the night.
What's wrong, Simon? What exactly happened to you? Why don't you tell me about it, instead of just sitting in silence like this?
I kept asking her while grabbing her cold and pale hand, but she still said nothing. I was annoyed at first, but then I became silent and concentrated on mumble sound that were light but dispersed all over the room. It came from Simon, and it seemed like she was speaking with a mouth full of liquid. The muttering kept louder and louder. My consciousness began to feel out of place. I was stumped, but decided to take the bull by the horns. Before the question were started, the phone suddenly rang.
Dararai, turn on the TV now, quick!
The shouting from my friend woke me from panic. I asked her why, but still turned the television on like she said.
I don't know that you've seen this news yet or not, but just hang on, okay, buddy?
I became more confused with those words. What does it supposed to mean? Why do you have to shock? Then when the news was shown on the screen, it said,
a female student's dead body was found at the university's reservoir. The police assumed this was a suicide.
And the person in the picture that's showing was Simon. At that moment, I was really frightened. The hairs immediately throughout my body. Both arms and legs were unable to move. Even my face seemed to have paused for a moment. My eyes were wide open, but my lip was shut as if stitched. If that was my friend, then who was her? I carefully turned my face to the person next to me, who now raised her head and grinned broadly. Before my consciousness was nearly destroyed, suddenly her mouth opened, with water was gushing out and flooding the entire room.